Have you heard something on the show that Stephen has been discussing? Got a comment? Give him a call. 4422 1045. Triple UFM is your voice. Don't be shy. Pick up your phone.
24 minutes to 6. Don't forget that I'm asking the question. Actually, I'm asking two questions today. The first one can land you a prize, which is the Swooping Magpie by Lisa Perrott. A signed copy, may I add too. The question is, of course, how many subspecies of magpies are there in Australia? Is it A3, B7, C8, or D9? If you think you know the answer, give me a call throughout the show on 4422 1045. And of course, the other question I'm asking this afternoon is, what Australian-made product could you not live without? Now, Alison Whiteoak got on Facebook and she's mentioned that she couldn't live without Wi-Fi, and I completely agree with that. And you know what? One of the qualities I love about being Australian is just how clever we are. Not just in sport or in the films, but along with many everyday items that we take for granted. Let's take the black box recorder, for example. It's certainly redefined the way we travel and makes it just a little bit safer to fly. What about Wi-Fi, as I mentioned, that very technology you may be using right now to stream Tuesday Drive on your smartphone or computer, or even Google Maps. Yes, it all began right here in Australia. Where would we be without that? And I'm a little embarrassed to say that I sometimes use it around Nowra. I'm not ashamed to admit, though, that I miss my Wiltshire Stay Sharp knife and the hot drink dispensing machine, the cafe bar. I remember you remember those. So I've got to say, we really are a clever bunch, and joining me on the phone from the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney is curator Damien McDonald, who has some items on display that you may not recall as our own. Welcome to the program, Damien.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, tell us, what are some of these Aussie-made products that you've got on display down there at the museum?
Okay, so we have an exhibition at the moment called Design Nation, and it's really looking at what was a golden age of Australian design and manufacture. So particularly starting in the late 1960s, but really peaking in the 1980s, when there really was a lot of Australian design going on, but with that as well was manufacturing. So we did a lot of manufacturing here in Australia as well, which sadly we don't do so much of now. And there's some reasons for that, wage increases and productivity. But there was a time, as I said, in the 1980s particular, where we were churning out some designs of products that people might not even know were Australian because they were so successful internationally. And you mentioned the Stay Sharp knife.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of them. The concept of the Stay Sharp knife did come up in America, but it was only that a knife manufacturer in America was he was lamenting that people had lost the skill of sharpening their knives.
Oh, is that right?
So he wanted, what's a knife that would always stay sharp? But it was an Australian designer that actually came up with it, Stuart Devlin. And everyone had a Stay Sharp knife on the bench in the 1980s. And you still, when you go to markets, you still see them out on the benches there for sale, and they're still sharp. So that certainly was and remains a great product.
Well, look, I can remember my grandmother used to have the Stay Sharp knife, the white one, and every time there was a roast, I always remember she'd take it out and it'd have that sound as it sort of went across the sharpening rod, didn't it?
Yes, very visceral, and I used to get in trouble for over sharpening it, of course, because I would plug it in and out, and my mum would say, you only have to do it once.
Oh, so you'll make it a little bit more too productive than it should have been.
Yeah, it'd be too much fun. So there was.
Oh, I was going to ask, why is it, do you think that some of these products aren't as well connected to Australia and they should be? Like like the Caroma bathroom stool, for example. I remember Mum and Dad had that when I was young.
Yeah, the Caroma bath. So just an ingenious design, and with a lot of these products in the 80s in particular, they were injection moulded. So the advent of injection moulding enabled mass production of products that were very strong, and it enabled simplicity of design too. And that one is just perfect for exemplifying simplicity of design. It's just two pieces and a lid that go together. So injection moulded, made very fast, made at very high runs, and that's why they're ubiquitous, and they're ubiquitous around the world, and that's why I think people just wouldn't associate it with Australia. Likewise, the Siebel chair. So the plastic moulded one-piece Siebel chair that comes in many colours actually has done the biggest sales for that in the world are the American penal system. And they like them because they're one piece. You can throw them at your fellow inmates and not cause too much damage.
To the chair, that is, I presume.
The chair, yeah. So
not so much the prisoner.
And they stack up. They stack up and they can go in a corner. Now, Australian design, made and designed here in Sydney.
Damien, can I just say with the chair there, until I had actually seen the display, I would have just assumed that Integra chair was something that had come out of an IKEA store, to be perfectly honest. And I was so surprised that it was actually designed right here in Australia.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's quite a slick design, but it's also completely functional. The one drawback is that, and people like to leave them out on the balcony or out around the barbecue, is they tend to pool water in the sea. Yeah. So Australians being quite innovative themselves, you'll find a lot of them on the second-hand market with a drill hole in the middle of the seat to drain out the water.
See, we're still redefining these products as we go along, 20 years later.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
What products do you think have made a real mark on the world?
Look, I think probably, the Caroma stool. Another one which is amazing that it's an Australian design is the swing top tidy. So the Nilex swing top tidy, the bin that has the lid that, if you throw a banana peel at it, it hits the lid and goes straight in. They're all around the world.
Wow, that's one of ours.
That's one of ours.
My goodness.
So that was Lionel Suddy. He was an industrial designer, and he was commissioned by Nilex to come up with that. And now that is everywhere, and you can find it in just about every type of material, from big metal ones to the little kitchen ones that we know so well. And of course, that design has been copied and thousands of different companies around the world are making them. But it started here in 1970 that came out.
Now, I've got to admit, one of my favourite products that were on display down there was the hot drink dispensing machine. And my partner recognised it straight away as well. I thought, I haven't seen this one for years, but that was my personal favourite. Surely, it must be very, very difficult for you, but can you sort of put your finger on one that, just really resonates with you?
So the cafe bar really, it's an interesting product because it was actually around as a big old sheet metal contraption that wasn't doing very well. And it wasn't until they engaged an industrial designer who had to convince the company quite strongly that they should go the injection moulding route and make it in bold colours. And that coincided with, and there's a little bit of an industrial story here, all big offices used to have a tea lady with a little trolley and make a cup of tea and have sandwiches on there. And productivity started to come in and they were looking, all organisations were looking at ways to downsize their staff. And of course they were one of the early victims. But people still wanted to have a cup of tea. And the cafe bar had just come on the market and it just took off, the injection moulding version, and it was very ubiquitous in the 1980s in particular.
So would that be one of your favourites too?
Yeah, it is. And of course the Esky.
Oh, of course, yes.
So the portable food and drink cooler, which was nicknamed the Esky, made by Malleys. It was designed as a little ice box that would fit perfectly in the boot of a Holden motor car. and that has taken off around the world as well, and been copied, and they have different names for it around the world, but the Esky, it started here in Australia.
And I think it goes hand in hand, of course, with the insulated BYO wine cask cooler, Damien.
Of course, the wine cask cooler. So that came on the market. Dacor, they made a killing with that because it came on the market at a time when they were restricting the liquor laws, and it was getting quite hard for restaurateurs to secure liquor licences. So a lot of restaurants, particularly smaller restaurants, just did away with it. Oh. And the BYO thing became very popular, and you started to see BYO on the placards outside restaurants. So people they didn't want to bring along a bottle
no.
and look like a boozer. So the Dacor wine cooler was a sort of classy way to bring in your cask of wine or your two bottles.
And it's probably one of the most popular items still around to this day, I dare say.
Absolutely, yeah. And the quality of them, attests to that fact that there's still so many around.
Well, look, Damien, thank you so much for being part of Tuesday Drive this afternoon. It just goes to show they really are a talented bunch down here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Spa. And that was Damien McDonald, curator at the Powerhouse Museum, chatting to us about the Design Nation display, which, of course, was a great opportunity to highlight what a clever, quirky and unique bunch of people we are in this country of ours. On Tuesday Drive's pre-Australia Day special, you've still got plenty of time to share your opinion on what Aussie product you couldn't be without. Would it be the BYO wine cask cooler, the Esky, the Wiltshire knife, Wi-Fi? Let me know. Tuesday Drive's Facebook page is open to you, or the Tuesday Drive telephone number, which is 44221045, or you can also head to the Triple UFM Facebook page as well. I've got to say, if my grandmother was alive today, she'd still be using her Wiltshire Stay Sharp Knife 400. Good afternoon. It is 12 minutes to 6. I do hope that you are enjoying the program.